Assistant Speaker, short question for me without notice. I go along Foreign Affairs Minister, but because of the significance to long this question, me be directing me go to Prime Minister. Me pla harem na looking lo newspaper today. Prime Minister long Australia by come long Fonde, long PNG. Now we also read him also and by addressing Parliament. And display him true or no God. One. Number two, President of China sawe come, former Prime Minister of Australia sawe come, Prime Ministers of Solomon Islands na not la one Solwara sawe come. Since Minister of Parliament Minister will look him Prime Minister of Australia or not have come address in Parliament, so we said invite him to address in Parliament. People need long clear lo display. I think PNG, Papua New Guinea, independent country. Now people he must clear through long display na be away. You got some special arrangements lo display. You got some special significance lo display. I think Prime Minister through long government can talk him all people long Papua New Guinea lo display. Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker.
Honourable Prime Minister.
All right, thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. Once again, me like Amamas law question, talk Amamas law question, law Governor of Southern Highlands, law ask him law visit long Prime Minister of Australia, come law Papua New Guinea, and also part law question block and long the address of the Australian Prime Minister to our National Parliament. Me like confirming na talk yes, the Australian Prime Minister is on schedule to visit us. He will be arriving. In fact, I have a program here before me. He'll be arriving in our country on 10 o'clock a.m. There'll be a guard of honor, 19-gun salute offered to him as he arrived at our APEC terminal arrival area. Then at 10:30, he'll make a courtesy call to our Governor General in the Government House, and then at 11 o'clock he's scheduled to come and address our National Parliament at our invitation, on our government's invitation, and with the Speaker's concurrence and clearance by the Clerk of Parliament. There is provision in our standing orders to allow strangers, is defined as stranger, to come into our National Parliament to have an address. We will invoke the provision of the standing orders and allow him to come as a special guest to our country to have an address to our Parliament. Now, Mila giving barely see long people of our country, address him from a head of state or a special guest to a nation to address another nation's Parliament is not uncommon. We've had, for instance, the Pope addressing U.S. Congress when Powi visited the U.S. I think a few years back, the Chinese president and me addressing Australian Parliament, if I am not wrong, when President Xi Jinping visited Australia. For Papua New Guinea to host the Australian Prime Minister in our Parliament is also part of our plan towards our 50th anniversary program that is coming up in 2025. If you look at our National Parliament as we were introduced to this Parliament, the 11th Parliament, our Speaker and our National Parliament has given title to this Parliament, and I have it in our Parliament notebook. For instance, it says, ushering in 50 years of nationhood. It's a term that is running for this Parliament. The 11th Parliament, we are crossing over the 50th anniversary of our nationhood. There are programs running in this term of Parliament, especially 2023, 2024, and 2025. We got parliamentary programs running, legislative intentions of government will be put to us, and how we reform, refurbish, we strengthen, and entrench our democracy and our nationhood to live beyond 50 years. Mr. Assistant Speaker, taking this question to inform our country, it was this time 50 years ago when a Labour Prime Minister in Gulf Whitlam broke down all barriers in Australia to prepare our nation for self-government in 1973 and our eventual nationhood in 1975, September 16, more so when we gained independence. So our nation amongst ourselves, we're preparing to live beyond 50 years of nationhood, 50 years time when an organization or event or an association or a country celebrates 50, what is labeled as golden celebrations or golden jubilee. As we approach our golden jubilee, we must refurbish our house called PNG and prepare for life beyond 50 years. The arrival of our Australian Prime Minister coincides, the date that picked coincide with the time where Parliament is in session. We felt it was advisable for him to address on nation-to-nation issues in our Parliament. I will reciprocate tomorrow by, on our nation's behalf, also make a response to his statement, and we entrench our own bilateral relationships for the better going forward. We have more business-to-business, person-to-person, and government-to-government relationship with Australia than we have with all other bilateral relationships we have. And I repeat, we have more business-to-business, person-to-person, government-to-government relationship with Australia than we have with all other bilateral relationships we have. That is not to erode the value of the specifics of other bilateral relationships we have. We have good relationship with all other nations, and when leaders of those nations come to us, special protocols and special privileges will be accorded to other leaders who choose to travel to visit us here in Papua New Guinea. Likewise, vice versa, when we travel to the countries, we are given protocols and accorded the different respects that those nations have on us. For us, Papua New Guinea, we felt, and on the eve of us moving towards 50th anniversary of our nationhood, the current Australian Prime Minister is the leader of the Australian Labour Party, a party that partnered Pangu Party at 1973, preparing our country for independence. It is a time when we are preparing ourselves to live beyond 50 years. He's arriving. There are other issues between us and Australia that needs to be tidied. For instance, visa relationship with Australia, business-to-business relationship with Australia. Sometimes we feel that it is a lopsided. It's more beneficial to Australia than it is to PNG. There is no better place than our issues raised on the floor of Parliament and the leader of that country in our Parliament hearing our issues straight where people's house is. So it's really in that context. It is not something that is light. We had a deep look into this proposal. We felt that Australia being the country that granted us independence, a country that we said togetherness before 1975, at this point in time, he addresses us. I, on behalf of all of you and our country, make a response to him. And after that address, we will adjourn Parliament, and we will have our bilaterals at the APEC. So it is a matter we did not tread lightly. It is a conversation and a meeting that is taking place as a nation prepares ourselves for nationhood beyond 50 years as a country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Cairo,